It's so important that an individual came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him about fighting in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah mentions that over and over and over in His book. He mentions that those who fight in the cause of Allah with their wealth and with their persons are not like those who sit at home. Allah mentions that in the Quran. But when this person came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him about going out to fight in the cause of Allah, he asked me, he said, "Are your parents alive?" He said, "Yeah." He said, then fight in being good to them. Fight in taking care of them. And it shows you the importance that something as important as jihad and fighting for the cause of Allah, the parents took precedent. And so it shows the importance of being dutiful to one's parents, especially if they're Muslim in Islam. Where did we see the negation of shirk as it relates to Isa alayhi salam and his mother? How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala subtly negate shirk, negate that they should be worshipped? Yeah. Okay, so mentioning that he was born of Maryam, that was one indication. What about Maryam? Yeah. Him saying he was a servant of Allah himself, his own words. How did he show it with Maryam? How did? Right. He said by giving her, he said the river will be beneath you, yani, to drink from, and you shake the palm tree, and fresh dates will drop down to you. And we saw in Surah Al-An'am that Allah mentions about Maryam and Isa alayhi salam, kana ya'kulani ta'am. They both used to eat food, and that's evidence that they are human and therefore not to be worshipped. Allah mentions that people will see and hear clearly on the day of judgment. What does seeing refer to? Kind of. They'll be able to see what clearly? We said seeing often refers to being able to rationalize and make sense out of things. And as we will see in our reflections today, that the disbeliever, in his disbelief makes absolutely, positively no sense. His disbelief in being resurrected on the day of judgment makes no sense. But he does it anyway. Worshipping a piece of stone makes no sense. But he does it. And so he doesn't use his sense. That's what seeing refers to. And then hearing, what does hearing refer to? Listening to the messengers and listening to revelation. And we mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the kuffar will mention when they go to hell. We ask Allah to save us from hell. He mentions that they will say by their own tongues, as mentioned in Surah Al-Mulk, قَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. If we had listened, yani to the messengers, or we had thought about it, then we would not have been from the people of hell. And so the person who goes to hell is because, number one, he did not listen to the truth when it came to him. And because he didn't think rationally about what he was doing. And they're going to acknowledge that for themselves. And so when Allah mentions seeing, hearing, then seeing refers to thinking properly, and hearing refers to listening to revelation. What is a possible way Isa received salam on the day he was born? How did he get that salam? He said, "Wassalamu alayya yawma wulidtu." Peace be upon me the day I was born. What did we say was a possible way that he was able to receive a salam on the day he was born, even though he had not done any actions? Yeah.
Dua was made for him.
His dua made for him by who? His grandmother in Surah Ali Imran, when she gave birth to a female, to Maryam. She said, وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا Maryam, and I have named her Maryam. وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And I seek refuge for her and her offspring with you from the shaitan. And so perhaps that dua of that grandparent was accepted for that child, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept her and that child safe from evil. And we said that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that we can do that for our own children. How? Before we are intimate with our spouses, then we say, Bismillah, O Allah, protect us from the shaitan and protect what you bless us with, yani our child, from the shaitan. It's an important dua to make for our children. It's a right that they have over us. We are negligent if we do not make that dua for our children. What is the day of regret? Allah says in the Quran, وَأَنذِرْهُمْ يَوْمَ الْحَسْرَةِ, the day of regret, day of judgment. What will happen special on the day of judgment? That it will be a day of regret for the disbelievers. Something's going to happen that's going to let them know that they're in big trouble. They're going to see something. Yeah, what are they going to see?
Hellfire. Your deeds.
Something's going to be turned into something else. Death. Death is going to be turned into a ram. And that ram is going to be slaughtered. And at that point, they're going to lose hope of dying. And dying in hell would be a mercy. Right. They're going to lose all hope of mercy at that point. You're not getting out. You're staying in here. Yeah? Mercy's gone. When death is killed, that means it's it. This is for keeps. And that's the day, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it, that's what the people of Tafsir mentioned, as the day of regret. Suggested themes from Surah Maryam that we've covered, we said negating shirk, that's seen throughout the surah. The affirmation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, and that's in several ways. Understanding mercy's reality. I was reading over some of the ayat of Surah Yasin, and in that surah, an aspect of mercy that came up in Surah Maryam that I hadn't really thought and given a lot of attention to, but it's prevalent, and you see it more in the Quran. When we think of mercy, we usually think of getting something. We think of Allah giving. But mercy is also protection. I mean, we usually don't seek refuge with the names of mercy. But Maryam does exactly that when the man, who was actually an angel, came to her. Inni a'udhu bir-Rahmani mink. I seek refuge with ar-Rahman from you. So the idea that Rahmah is also a means of protection, that we are protected by things that harm us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. And so understanding that a part of mercy is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protecting us from harm, saving us from the things that we are afraid of, not just giving us what we want. We also said that a part of it is learning how to interact with mercy and how to get mercy. We said some other themes seem to be as well, children and family ties. What are the characteristics of a righteous child? Because a righteous child is a mercy to his parents, living and dying. Living because he's a joy or she's a joy to have around. And after death, because a righteous child gets to do what? Make dua for his parents. He gets to have that dua accepted for his parents as a good deed that continues for them even after they die. And we've also mentioned that patience in dealing with tribulation and decree is also seems to be a theme here. And the larger idea of that is that the bitterness of decree, when Allah decrees things that are difficult or hard for us, that in those things is mercy. Because it's a means for us turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or it's a means for us seeking protection with Him. Or it's a door to some good that's going to come after it. But sometimes we won't appreciate that good without having tasted some bitterness previously. Even for the kuffar. Allah punishing the kuffar in this dunya is a mercy for them. Allah mentions in Surah Sajdah, chapter number 32 of the Quran, وَلَنُذِيقَنَّهُمْ مِنَ الْعَذَابِ الْأَدْنَى دُونَ الْعَذَابِ الْأَكْبَرِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. And we will make them taste of the lighter punishment, yani the punishment in this dunya, Dun al-adhab al-akbar, before the greater punishment, hell. Why? So that they turn back. Yani Allah punishes them in this dunya because He's trying to get them to understand you can't do this by yourself. You need help. Call out on me. And when it gets real tough, they call out on Him. And then once they get comfortable again, they go back to what they were doing before. And so even the punishment in this dunya is a mercy for the believer and the disbeliever. And that's why anyone who goes to hell and remains in hell, he is only there because he is rejected completely the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to make us of those who reject His mercy. Fine. So just to go to Surah Yasin, just to look at some of those aspects of Allah's mercy being a protection. Allah mentions in Surah Yasin the man who came from the outskirts of the city when the 3 messengers had been denied, when they were rejecting the mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had sent them. And look at that, He sent them a messenger. They didn't believe Him. What does He do? Sends another messenger. So now you got 2. They still rejected. Then He sends a 3rd one. And still, you got 3 different people all saying the same thing. Still rejected. Now, one of their own people comes from the outskirts of the city. He probably lived in the outskirts. Allah knows best because He was trying to stay away from them and their evil. But He came all the way back to the city to tell them what? Oh my people, obey the messengers. And then He gives them an indication of how do I know that these people are telling the truth? 2 characteristics. They don't want anything from you. You have nothing to offer me. That's important for a person who's into doubt. It's important for the da'i as much as possible not to want what people have. Not to aspire for their praise, not to aspire for their wealth, not to aspire for anything that they have. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to be guided. That's what I want. I want you to be connected to Allah. Oh my people, follow the messengers. Follow those who don't want anything from you, and they're guided. And they're telling you the right things. They're telling you how to live properly. They're not telling you anything that doesn't make any sense. Then He says, and this is his speech here while talking to them, should I take other than Him as deities? And should I put my hopes and my fears? Should I seek mercy from anyone other than Him? If the most merciful, that's what He says, in yuridni ar-Rahman bidurrin, if the most merciful intends for me some adversity, their intercession will not avail me at all, nor can they save me. If Allah afflicts me with something, they can't remove that affliction. Only Allah can remove it. Indeed, I would have been in manifest error. Indeed, I have believed in your Lord, so listen to me. And then he died. Scholars of Tafsir differ. Was he killed? What happened? He died. What happened when he died? SubhanAllah. Look at the mercy of those who are tied to Ar-Rahman. It was told to him, into Jannah, into paradise. What did he say? I wish my people could know. Wallahi, he goes to Jannah, everything, all the discomfort of the dunya is gone, and he's still concerned about his people. And those who call to Allah, one of the most prominent characteristics that they have is that they want good for people. When you see someone who claims to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and call to Islam, but you see in him harshness and toughness and bitterness, doesn't give salam to people, doesn't smile to people, doesn't seem to want good for people, it's difficult to believe that that person has himself embodied what Islam is about. The man's in Jannah, and he's still thinking about people. I wish they could know. I wish I could show them what I have so that they would understand it's the truth. I wish my people could know how my Lord has forgiven me and placed me amongst the honored. Later on in Surah Yasin, it also says, when he talks about the kuffar and how he sends them out into the ocean and how they don't rationalize things and how huge the ocean is and you're in this little bitty boat, and the water beneath you is deep, and the waves that come above you are so high, and you're out in the middle of nothing, and you're out there by yourself. This little itty bitty piece of wood and nails. That's how Allah describes in Surah Al-Qamar. وَحَمَلْنَاهُ عَلَى ذَاتِ أَلْوَاحٍ وَدُسُرٍ. When he talks about Noah, saving Noah, we carried him on planks of wood and nails. That's what it was. You're out there in this boat with all this confidence, all this arrogance, all this kufr, like people in airplanes. Well, I mean, you see people in the airplane, drinking, doing Allah knows what. It's like if Allah just wanted, there's nothing beneath you. You just drop. That's it. And if we should will, we could drown them. And then no one responding to a cry would be there for them. No one can hear them. Nor would they be saved, except as a mercy from us and provision for a time. And if we put them in that situation so they realize that there is no hope, no salvation except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we bring them out so they can remember. But the idea is they get saved by His mercy. So not only is His mercy a means for us to get things, but it's a means for us to be protected, which shows you how important that name Ar-Rahman is. Now, so continuing on from where we left off from the story with the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Allah begins and mentioned in the book the story of Ibrahim. Indeed, he was a man of Siddiq. He was a Siddiq and a prophet. He was a Siddiq and a prophet. Sheikh Tahir mentioned last week the term Siddiq. Siddiq comes from what word? Sadaqah, which means truth. So a Siddiq, here he's talking about Ibrahim. And when we talk about the levels of faith, we said you have the prophets, then you have the Siddiq, then you have the martyrs, and then you have the righteous. Here Allah describes him as a Siddiq and a prophet. And we're going to see later on he describes Musa as a prophet and a messenger. So what's special about Siddiq? What does that mean, Siddiq? Sincerity is a part of it. But when you look at the life of Ibrahim, yani Siddiq is kind of like any affirmation, to affirm something, yani to attest to something in one's heart is tasdeeq. So a Siddiq is someone whose actions constantly testify to the faith in his heart. And a Siddiq is someone whose actions testify to the faith in their hearts. And that's what puts them perhaps a level above the martyr. Because for the martyr, martyrdom doesn't include someone's what? Life. You have to be religious to be a martyr. But it doesn't include your entire life. Martyrdom is a moment. It's a moment in life. You go out, and if you're killed, then that's it. It just ends. But for an individual to constantly be tested and constantly show over and over again that he is a slave to Allah and that he is submissive to Allah despite his circumstances. I mean, look at Ibrahim alayhi salam and all the different things he was tested with. His family rejected him. His people rejected him. Thrown in the fire. Had to leave his wife and his child in the desert without any food, without any water. Told to kill his child. His wife was barren, unable to have children. Over and over and over and over again, he showed that his faith was true. He stayed dutiful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of that adversity. Never giving up hope. Never feeling destitute. Never turning to disobedience. And so Allah describes him here as Siddiq. That he was constantly affirming his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was a prophet. That's why he was a Khalil. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him as a friend. Now, that's why he took the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a friend, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself was Siddiq. He constantly affirmed his belief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in action. So it's just interesting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses Siddiq here to describe Ibrahim alayhi salam. And so when we talk about Siddiq, because again, nothing that Allah mentions in the Quran is haphazard. And so why bring these two characteristics? Because Siddiq shows the pinnacle of action. Action. Because, good, I'm glad he mentioned, he said faith. Sheikh Tahir mentioned in our last class, and in the class before that when we talk about Iman, and really, if you think about it, it's a better term to use than faith. Because when we think of faith, we think of something only in the heart. But Iman encompasses basically the entire religion. Right. Statement, action, and belief. And so, when we talk about Iman is comprised, it goes back to two main things captured in Surah Al-Fatiha. What two main things does it go back to?
Salam.
Yes. It does go back to sidq, being truthful. But what does Iman go back to? Two things.
Guidance.
Knowledge and action. It goes back to knowledge and action. That's where Iman comes from. And when you say you believe in Allah, that's not just I think. I what? I know. I affirm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is real, that His characteristics are real, that His ability is real. I know with certainty that there are angels. I know with certainty that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final messenger. When we're talking about faith, we're talking about knowledge. You know it. Yeah? And it also includes actions. Okay? Knowledge and actions. And then we get that in the end of Surah Al-Fatiha. غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ. Who were the maghdubi alayhim? They had knowledge, but they didn't have actions that go with that knowledge. And ad-dallin, they had actions, but they didn't base their actions on knowledge. And so Iman is comprised of knowledge and actions. Here, he was Siddiq and Nabi. Where do we see his actions? Siddiq. His actions affirmed his knowledge. Where do we see knowledge? He's a prophet. Yani knowledge of this religion comes from where? Yeah, from Allah. How? Revelation. And that's what makes him a prophet. So mentioning that he is a Siddiq and Nabi shows that he has reached the pinnacle of knowledge and the pinnacle of action. And he reached highest level attainable in each of those areas. Prophethood, the highest level of knowledge, and Siddiq, highest level of action. No. Then he has a conversation with his father. Okay, and I've kind of broken it out. There's like basically 4 different statements he makes to his father. And we want to try to find the mercy in each statement. And he begins each statement, I didn't write it in the first one. He says, "Oh my father," yani ya abati, which is a really endearing statement. I mean, "Oh my father," doesn't really, no one really speaks like that. But the kindest way that you could address your parent, that's what ya abati means. You know, if it's that soft way you say dad, you know, whatever's the softest, kindest way to address your parent, that's what he was saying. Ya abati. And then he asks him, Abi, yeah, why do you worship that which does not hear and does not see and will not benefit you at all? Yani, why do you worship what will not give you any benefit? What type of benefit does he want? Not worship.
Mercy.
Mercy. We said because mercy boils down to 2 things: bringing good and removing harm. So he asks him, why are you worshiping something that you and I both know, this piece of stone here, it cannot hear you when you call on it. It cannot see you. It does not benefit you at all. And why are you trying to get mercy from something that you and I both know can't give you mercy? But he says it in a nice way. Then he says, "O my Father, indeed there has come to me of knowledge that which has not come to you. So follow me. I will guide you to an even path." He doesn't say, he says, knowledge has come to me that hasn't come to you. He doesn't say, I know more than you know. Listen to me, Pops. No. He says, knowledge has come to me that hasn't come to you. What knowledge is that? Revelation. Yet you can't know Allah. It's impossible, Dad. No matter how much experience in life you have, knowledge of Islam, knowledge of Allah, and this religion cannot come from experience in life. It comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. He's the only one that can tell you about him because there's nothing like him. Salam. Nothing on the screen? Okay. Jazakallah khair, sisters. I'll try to fix that. Okay, it seems like the device isn't showing. Please make sure that the TV is on source 2, so I can connect it to the projector. I mean, sorry, it should be on. Hit the source button and it should be on HDMI 2. There we go. Okay. Okay, so it should be connected now. Okay. So, as we said, knowledge of Allah and knowledge of the religion. What is pleasing to Allah can only come from Allah. It's not something that can be made up. It's not something we can just figure out on our own. It has to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, it's something I know that hasn't come to you yet. So, follow me. I will guide you to the right path. He says, "O my Father, do not worship Satan or Shaitan. Inna Shaitana, verily the Shaitan has ever been to the most merciful disobedient." Yani, his kufr is not complete atheist kufr, where there's a disbelief in the creation of man. And the story of Adam still seems to be understood and known. It's like you know what happened. So why are you going to be obedient to worship the shaitan? Yani, by doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you not to do. And he mentions the most merciful here. "O my Father, indeed I fear that there will touch you a punishment from Ar-Rahman, so you would be to the Satan a companion, yani in hell, yani that you will be with the shaitan." Basically, in a real nice way, he's saying, you're going to go to hell if you keep on this. But he's, again, packaged all of this in a very nice, respectable, acceptable way. Let's look at the response. His father said, "Have you no desire for my gods, O Abraham, or Ya Ibrahim? If you don't desist, I will surely stone you, so avoid me a prolonged time." First of all, his father takes it personal. Where do you see him taking it personal? My gods.
My gods.
Yeah, he didn't say anything about your gods. Don't worship any of them. But he takes it personal. That's the first thing. And then he threatens him. What does he say? I'll stone you. And then he abandons him. He tells him, avoid me. Get away from, get lost and don't come back. Get lost and don't come back. Look at Ibrahim's response. He says, Salamun alayk. Peace be upon you. What does that mean, Salamun alayk? That's what it means. It means peace be upon you. But what does that mean? It means I'm not going to say anything negative to you. I'm not going to respond harshly. And I'm not going to do anything negative to you. And you don't be, even in spite of what you've said to me, you don't have to worry about me trying to retaliate. Not verbally, not physically. When we talk about dutifulness to one's parents, the minimal level that has to be there is that at least you don't harm them. But that's not what Allah says in the Quran. He says, "Well, bil walidaini ihsana," and be good to them, not just don't harm them. So how does he try to be good to them? He says, "And I will ask forgiveness of you for my Lord." Yani, his dad said, "If you don't get out of my face, I'm gonna stone you. So get lost." And so now Ibrahim no longer has the opportunity to be good to him in his presence. So now the only thing he can do of goodness is to try to make dua for him. He says, "I will seek forgiveness for you." And subhanAllah, how long? As long as I'm allowed to. So you imagine, at this point, he does what? He leaves his father and he heads to Sham or Palestine. Then he heads to Mecca, where he has to leave Ismail and Hajar. And then he comes back and he has Ishaq. And then he also has Yaqub, who grows up and is a prophet in his lifetime. All this time, he continues to seek forgiveness for his father. On the day of judgment, as mentioned in Bukhari, he's still going to plead for his father. And he did the most that he could do to try to be as dutiful to his father in the capacity that he was allowed to. One more aspect of goodness here, he says, "Indeed, he is ever gracious to me." Yani, not to lose hope. And Allah has always been good to me. And you can always expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be good. If at any time you decide to repent and to come back and to rectify things, don't lose hope of Allah's mercy. He's always been good to me. But at the same time, I will leave you and those you invoke other than Allah. I can't stay around this shirk stuff. I have to go. And perhaps, and I will make dua to Allah to give me something better. And perhaps I can expect that I will not be unhappy with my dua to my Lord. So again, we have the utmost that Ibrahim is able to offer, alayhi salam, in terms of goodness to his parents. So, because of its importance, we want to kind of review of what's happened. Ibrahim has come to his father. Number one, he gave him good advice. Number two, the information that he gave him was true. His father knows it. Sometimes you can try to give advice, but you might not understand. Gave him advice, he was truthful. Number three, he maintained respect during the entire conversation. Number four, his father takes it personal. And he tried his best to do it in the right way. Dad doesn't understand. Not only does he not understand, his dad threatens him. Not only does he not understand and threaten him, in spite of all that goodness that he did, he cuts ties with him. Get out of my face, I don't want to see you again. How does Ibrahim respond? Number one, he says, I'm not going to say or do anything harmful. Don't expect any harm from me, any reciprocation. He removes himself from vice. Yani, I'm not gonna do anything harmful, and He continues in goodness to his father in two ways. By continuing to make dua for him, and in telling him something that will hopefully not cause him to lose hope. Yes. Okay, no problem. So now in this is a lesson. This is a lesson for the Muslim child. If you have a Muslim parent, or even a non-Muslim parent, because again, Ibrahim here is not dealing with a Muslim. He's dealing with a non-Muslim. But when we have Muslim families, we're over dunya stuff, over worldly stuff. You have parents, children who stop speaking to their parents. Children who raise their voices to their parents. Children who are disobedient to their parents. Who may physically accost their parents. And here's the example. And if anyone had a right to be harsh for the sake of Allah, here it is. For the sake of Allah. Not personal. He's a disbeliever. And one staunch in disbelief. If he said, you know, Dad, you're stupid. I ain't got nothing to do with you anymore. If he had said that, we might not see anything wrong with it. We might understand. But even in these circumstances, Salamun alaik. I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm not going to say anything mean. I'm not going to do anything wrong. And I'm going to continue to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you better. And don't lose hope in Him. If this is how a Muslim deals with a non-Muslim, how is it for a Muslim with a Muslim? You know, the idea of being undutiful to one's parents is a grave issue. And again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us in this surah, He gives us guidance in terms of how children are supposed to be if they want to be righteous. And how a Muslim is supposed to be in general. Even when dealing with kufr and disbelief, you still maintain proper etiquette. How can you not do that with your Muslim brother? He didn't say you're a kafir. You got Muslims calling Muslims people of bid'ah and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, is that necessary? Have you given up hope on him being guided? Do you think if you say that to him, even if you believe it, do you think if you say that to him or her, that's going to make him want to come back to you and try to get some advice on how to make things better? You know, you cut the relationship. Is that the example that you have in Ibrahim alayhi salam? Nah. Because we're not even talking about scholars. I mean, we're talking about people who are knowledgeable and stuff like that's a different story. When you're talking about just day-to-day people, I'm just trying to live. I'm just trying to be a Muslim. I'm just trying to raise my kids right. Call me a mubtadi. What are you talking about? Because I pray at this masjid? Because this is the imam at the masjid? What are you talking about? What kind of rectification is that? What kind of goodness is that? What kind of mercy is that? This is the characteristics of those who believe. This is a person, alayhi salam, who reached the pinnacle of knowledge and action. This is the example Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. You want to talk about salaf? This is your salaf. This is your salaf. Allah says in Surah Al-An'am, chapter number 6 of the Quran, He tells the Prophet, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ هَدَاهُمُ اللَّهُ فَبِهُدَاهُ مُقْتَدِي. These are the ones, these prophets, these are the ones that Allah has guided. So follow their guidance. These are your salaf. The Prophet ﷺ, these are your salaf. These are the example that you're supposed to follow. The Prophet ﷺ said the best fast is the fast of Dawood. The best prayer is the prayer of Dawood. This is how Muslims act. When we see somebody that's off of this, he has a misunderstanding of who his salaf are. Our salaf are the prophets and the messengers and the Sahaba. And this is how they acted. This was the mercy that they had. And as the Prophet mentioned, those who don't show mercy will not be shown mercy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with His mercy. Now, طيب. What do we learn about worship here and therefore shirk? I want you to pay attention here. There are two people talking in this collection of ayat. There are two conversations here in this text. First, it's Ibrahim, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why I had to apologize for the two persons. It's two conversations here. First Ibrahim, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks. Ibrahim says, "And I will leave you and those you invoke other than Allah." What does invoke mean? Call on, make dua to. "And I will leave you and those you invoke other than Allah, and I will invoke my Lord. I expect that I will not be in invocation to my Lord unhappy," yani that my dua will be accepted. So when he had left them, and those they worshipped other than Allah, we gave him Ishaq and Yaqub, and each of them we made a prophet. What do we learn about worship here?
They have rewards.
And shirk. We learn about worship and shirk. He says, "I will leave you." And then go down and he says, so when he left them, he says, "And I will leave you and those you invoke." And here he says, so when he had left him and those they worshipped. What do we benefit from this ayah?
Statement and action.
That dua is
Answer.
worship. Dua is worship. I'm going to recast it for you. We'll go over it again. Ibrahim tells his people, "I'm going to leave you and those things you invoke." Allah, he says in the Arabic word is, وَأَعْتَزِلُكُمْ. I'm going to get away from you. وَمَا تَدْعُونَ دُعَاء مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَأَدْعُو رَبِّي. I'm going to leave you and what you make dua to other than Allah. Okay? When Allah talks about what he did, right after that, he says, "And when he left them," does he then say, "and what they made dua to"? No. He says, "and what they worshipped." Ibrahim called it dua, and Allah called it worship. And that's the exact word he uses in the Arabic. He says, فَلَمَّا اعْتَزَلَهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ. He doesn't say وَيَدْعُونَ. He says, and when he left them and what they worship. So from this ayat, Allah calls dua worship, which means that if you make dua to other than Allah, you are worshiping other than Allah and committing shirk. If you call on the Prophet, if you make dua to him and ask him for things, you are committing shirk. Yes, you are making dua to him and you are committing shirk. Because I said so? No. Allah called in this ayah, and these two ayat, he calls dua worship. Ibrahim says, "I'm going to leave you وَمَا تَدْعُونَ, and what you make dua to other than Allah, وَأَدْعُو رَبِّي, and I'm going to make dua to my Lord." And when Allah talks about what he did, he says, "And when he left them," when he had left them, and those they worshipped. Ibrahim called it dua, Allah called it worship. It's all in the Quran, right after each other. So that shows us in this ayah that dua is worship. And so anyone who calls on other than Allah has committed shirk. Again, Surah to Maryam, two main things of this surah is mercy and negating shirk. Why? Because shirk cuts you off from Allah's mercy in this life and the next. If you are making dua to an idol, the idol's not going to answer you. And so the mercy that you are seeking will not come to you. Allah says about them in the Quran, إِن تَدْعُوهُمْ, if you make dua to them, لَا يَسْمَعُوا دُعَاءَكُمْ, they don't hear it. وَلَوْ سَمِعُوا, and even if they heard it, مَسْتَجَابُوا لَكُمْ, they can't answer you. They don't hear you. But if they did hear you, they couldn't answer you. And so by calling on that thing that can't help him, he's not going to get the mercy he's looking for. And so he's cut himself off from Allah's mercy in this dunya. And then on Yawm al-Qiyamah, he's going to go to hell and be there forever. And so he's going to be permanently cut off from Allah's mercy. And he himself knows that tree and that rock could not help him. Someone cut the tree down. If the tree couldn't stop itself from being cut down, what is it going to do for you? And don't just think about trees and rocks, any created thing. Allah tells the Prophet to say himself in the Quran in Surah Al-A'raf, say, قُلْ لَا أَمْلِكُ لِنَفْسِي ضَرًّا وَلَا نَفْعًا إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ. I cannot benefit or harm myself except what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows. وَلَوْ كُنْتُ أَعْلَمُ الْغَيْبِ, and if I knew the unseen, meaning that I don't know it. If I knew the unseen, لَاسْتَكْثَرْتُ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ وَمَا مَسَّنِيَ السُّوءُ. I'd have lots of money and nothing bad would happen to me. Did he have lots of money? No. Did bad stuff happen to him? So that means he didn't know the unseen. Come on. What do you want? He negates from himself knowledge and what? And ability. And those are the first two things Allah tells you in Surah Talaq. This is why he created the heavens and the earth. لِتَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. So that you know that Allah can do everything. When you see the plants and the trees and the animals and everything, you know Allah is able to do everything because everything is different. When you see the water and it's clear and it's tasteless and it's colorless, but you get red strawberries and dark red cherries and yellow lemons and they all taste different, you know Allah is able to do everything. When you see sperm, as Allah mentions, أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تُمْنُونَ, you see what you ejaculate. That disgusting fluid becomes a human being. Bones, a tongue, thinks he's tough stuff, forgets where he came from. See that baby come out of the womb, can't hold his neck up, can't feed himself. And he becomes a human being who learns and knows and explores and drives and believes he doesn't need Allah anymore. He created everything, so you know he's able to do everything, and so that you know he encompassed everything with knowledge and ability. And the Prophet negates from himself knowledge and ability. No. And so here again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he names for us that dua is worship. And so making dua to anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shirk. No. Yes, sir. Further.
In the complete statement, I will leave you and those you invoke that complete statement was a dua.
No, this is not a dua he's making. This is what he's saying I'm going to do. Those things that you call on other than Allah, I'm leaving you and I'm leaving them. I have nothing to do with any of you. I'm not going to make dua to them and I'm not staying around you. I'm going to make dua to my Lord. Because my Lord has never made me, he's never left me unhappy. Every time I've asked him for something, he's given it to me. So he told them, I'm not staying with you, nor the things you make dua to. When Allah describes what he says, and when he left them, and he left those things that they worshipped. What he called what they did was dua. What Allah called what they did is worship. That's the idea. So the same name, the different names being used to describe the same action. Clear? Inshallah. Fine. And then here we have a repetition of the principles of mercy. It says, so when he had left them and those they worshipped other than Allah, we gave him Ishaq and Yaqub, and each of them we made a prophet, and we gave them of our mercy, and we made for them a mention and a reputation of high honor. Again, every difficulty comes with ease. And here Ibrahim, he was cut off from who? His father. Who was his? Who was his? His family. He was cut off from his family. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him another family. Another family. And a family that, as we know, will do what for him? Benefit him. Benefit him in numerous ways. Number one, in dua for him. Number two, in him seeing the goodness of them in his lifetime. Number three, in carrying on his da'wah. And everyone he teaches, every prayer that they make, every scripture that they read, he's the teacher of them in that. And so them following him in that goodness means that he's going to get the reward for that. And for their children that they teach. All the way till it gets back to us, to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so here are the blessings to Ibrahim for his patience. He says, we gave him Ishaq and Yaqub. So he didn't just let him see one child. He let him see his grandchild as well. And both of them were made prophets. Tayyib. Now we know about Ibrahim from other places in the Quran that his wife Sarah was also barren. Why doesn't Allah mention that here? Why doesn't he mention that Sarah was barren and he blessed her with a child and all those things? Why does he mention that? Why doesn't he mention that here?
It wasn't relevant there.
It wasn't relevant there. Why? You're spot on, but why isn't it relevant? Why isn't it necessary to mention that here?
Because Ibrahim was dealing with his father, his people.
At the time she wasn't barren.
She was barren.
At the time.
Oh, she was barren. Yeah. Because he already mentioned that miracle with who?
Oh, right.
Zechariah. Yet the idea that he's able to do that has already been mentioned. So there's no need to mention again that he is able to do that. Because he's already mentioned it. What's the difference between Zechariah as it relates to his children, or his child, Yahya, and Ibrahim as it relates to his child, Ishaq? Okay. Very close. Zechariah mentioned his old age and his wife being barren. Ibrahim didn't. Zechariah did what for his child?
Made dua.
He asked for it. Ibrahim didn't. He didn't ask. Which may indicate, again, that all of the prophets are positive, and all of them have positive characteristics, but they're different levels. And so perhaps that yaqeen that Ibrahim had, alayhi salam. And if Allah wants me to have one, I'm going to have one. I don't really need to ask for it. Or Allah just gave it to him as a blessing. But interestingly enough, Ibrahim didn't ask for it. The angel just came and gave him glad tidings. He didn't ask for it. And so his children came without asking, under the same circumstances, him being old and his wife being barren. And each of them we made a prophet, which shows that they were righteous. They were righteous children, the highest level of righteousness. And we gave them of our mercy. And he blessed them with knowledge, blessed them to be worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, blessed them to be callers to Islam and to Allah's way. And we made for them a mention of high honor. Yani, Ishaq, and Yaqub, and Ibrahim alayhim as-salam, they're mentioned positively by all peoples of faith. And their mention is in a positive way, that this is one of the blessings that Allah gave him. And even though his father spoke ill of him and poorly of him, he made the lasting statement about him a positive one. No, and that's Allah's mercy.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
You got to pardon me, and I hope I'm not off point, but you have totally piqued my interest. Just now when you were mentioning the difference between Zachariah and Ibrahim with the, being Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granting them children. Is it possible to know when did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inform Ibrahim he was going to make him father of nations? Or was it prior to the children, or was it after the children?
I don't know. This question about when Allah
there,
told Ibrahim he was going to make him a father of nations, I don't know. I don't know when that happened.
Pardon the question.
No problem. Jazakallah khair. If I know, I answer. If I don't, then Allah bless me to not speak about what I don't know. So here, again, we get into these principles of mercy. He says, and mentioned in the book, so after mentioning the story of Ibrahim, then we go into the other prophets. And mentioned in the book, Musa alayhi salam. Indeed, he was chosen. The word is mukhlas, and in some recitations, it's mukhlis. Mukhlas with a fatha on the khaf means he was chosen. Mukhlis means he was sincere. And Sheikh Sa'di mentions that both of them apply. And he was chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was also sincere in action. So he was both of those things, and he was a messenger and a prophet. And we called him from the side of the mountain at his right, and brought him near, confiding to him, and he's speaking to him. And we gave him out of our mercy his brother Aaron Harun as a prophet. So this section I put as questions to kind of go over that text or those concepts. So questions from Musa's story. What is the difference between a prophet and a messenger? Yes.
Prophet was going to receive revelation, and the messenger was going to receive revelation, and was going to go out and tell people.
That is that's the common way it's defined in lots of literature. However, the stronger opinion, which is held by Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, is that both messengers and prophets convey a message. Allah says in, I forget the surah, he says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ مِنْ رَسُولٍ وَلَا نَبِيٍّ إِلَّا إِذَا تَمَنَّى أَلْقَى الشَّيْطَانُ فِي أُمْنِيَّتِهِ. He says, we have not sent before you a prophet or a messenger except that, and meaning that prophets and messengers are both sent. We have not sent a prophet or a messenger except that. And so he shows that prophets and messengers are both sent. The difference seems to be, and Allah knows best, that a messenger is given new revelation. Right. Whereas a prophet continues what was already sent to him previously. Yes?
The first case I come out of arise and warn that the same thing that definitely talking as
Messengership. Yeah, that's the example that's given in the book. But the idea here is that would Allah reveal the Quran to him to keep to himself? And had that other ayat not been revealed, would he never have been required to convey the message of Islam to his people? You understand what I'm saying? And eventually there would be something he would have to convey, and Allah knows best. And so again, the messenger, the difference seems to be that a messenger is given something new. What was Musa given? The Torah. And that hadn't been given to anyone before him. And so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing, number one, his mercy to him personally as receiving revelation, making him a prophet in terms of his knowledge, and also as a messenger in terms of giving him new legislates, which are a mercy for the people that they come to. What added mercy did Musa get in his revelation? What added mercy did Musa get in his revelation that many other prophets did not get? In revelation. What makes Musa special?
He talked to him.
Allah spoke to him directly. Right. So that was again mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he got to hear the actual speech of Allah. How else did Musa get mercy from Allah? His brother. His brother Harun. And again, Musa alayhi salam was someone himself who showed mercy. And before he was commissioned as a prophet, it's as if this is a characteristic that was reaffirmed over and over again in religious households. That if you are a person who attributes yourself to Allah, then you deal with people in a kind way. Before he became a messenger, he was running for his life to Midian. And when he got to Midian, running for his life, not knowing whether he was safe yet or not, what did he see? 2 young ladies who couldn't water their sheep. And so what did he do? He asked them, what's wrong? And why are you guys just standing here? They said, we can't water our sheep until the men move. The modesty, characteristic of righteous women. We're not going around there mingling with those men. We're going to wait till they finish. Why are we out here anyway? And we shouldn't be out here doing this work anyway. Why are we out here? Fathers old, righteous to their parents. You see these lessons repeated throughout the Quran. The young ladies, but our father's an old man. So in spite of the fact that it's difficult, it's tiresome, this is man's work, we're going to go out here and do this because our dad's too old to do this. And we'll make the best we can. And so they came out there and did that. And because they did that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what did Allah bless them with, the 2 young ladies? Help! Just that one time? No, for 8 to 10 years. They didn't have to water any other sheep. Because Musa was doing it. Right? Yeah. With difficulty comes ease. Allah decreed circumstance for them. Right now you don't have any help. Did they complain? Why we got to do this? Why did old man keep sending us out here? No. They went and did what they had to do, trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they were in the habit of doing it. That's just how we do it. And then Allah eventually sent help. After the 8 years, 10 years, they didn't have to water any more sheep. That's how Allah works. You got to be patient. And Musa alayhi salam, from his side, he saw them in need. This is not what they should be doing. And so he took care of it for them. Did he say, give me some money? I need something. I'm hungry. I need some food. Did he ask them for anything? No. He went and sat under the tree and asked who? Allah. Allah, I have been good to your creation. So be good to me. So be good to me. And so what did Allah bless him with? He blessed him with food for the evening, a job for 8 to 10 years, and a wife. And later on, when he felt weak, when he felt unable to convey the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah blessed him with his brother. I need help, Allah. I feel weak, I can't do this by myself. I need some comfort. Allah blessed him with his brother. And some of the scholars of Tafsir mention, and again, here's another benefit, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with goodness as a Muslim, then a part of your faith is wanting good for your brother. And so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, here Musa alayhi salam, he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for some of the good that Allah has blessed him with. Allah, you blessed me to be a prophet. Bless my brother to be a prophet too. Sheikh Sa'di, rahimahullah, in his tafsir mentions, no brother has benefited his brother like Musa alayhi salam benefited Harun, because he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make him a prophet. And so it shows that these are the characteristics of a Muslim. When Allah blesses you with something good, if you're able to share it, that you want it for your brother as well. Your real brother and your brother in Islam. You're not selfish. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is expansive in his mercy, you want good for other people as well. And so Musa alayhi salam benefited his brother. What else did, it says, what negation of shirk lesson do we get from what Allah gave him? Allah blessed him with what from his mercy? What did he bless him with? His brother, as help. What did we learn about shirk here? What did we learn about shirk? Asking for help in something that someone can help you with is not shirk. Shirk does not mean, and he's trying to stay away from shirk, doesn't mean that you can't ask anybody for help at any time. Doesn't mean that at all. It means, number one, that your primary dependency is on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He asked Allah. But he needed help. He felt like he needed help. And so he asked for human help. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will sometimes use human beings, oftentimes will use human beings as the means by which he gives his mercy to people. And so getting help from people does not negate your tawheed, but you don't depend on people with your heart. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had told him no, does that mean he's not going to convey the message now? No. But Allah granted it to him. So the idea here again is asking people for help does not nullify your tawheed when you need help. And as we've said previously, if you take medicine, that does not negate your tawheed. Going to the doctor does not negate tawheed. Dressing up for a job interview does not negate your tawheed. The idea is, where is your heart in this process? Do you believe that these external things can help you outside of Allah's help? Or do you believe that these external things that you do are a means of getting Allah's help? As long as it's the latter, that you believe that these things are a means of getting Allah's help, there's no shirk involved. So it's no problem to ask for help. Musa asked for help. Musa felt weak and he asked for help, and Allah gave it to him. And he was a prophet and a messenger. And when he got to the Red Sea, he asked Allah. No, the idea here is that his trust was with Allah the whole time. His confidence was with Allah the whole time. But in this situation, he wanted some help. And so his call for help did not negate the iman in his heart. Because when it got tough, he turned to Allah alone. Yeah? Yes, sir. Right. He asked Allah for help with his speech. Nevertheless, you'll notice sometimes in the conversation, it's generally between Musa and Pharaoh. Harun really doesn't speak except to La. Who does Harun speak to? Banu Israel. And they don't listen to it. He said, we're not going to stop worshiping this idol until Musa gets back. So the very thing he asked for help with doesn't appear in the text to have helped him. Yeah. But sometimes as human beings that we just want that comfort. Yeah? Allah mentions that he tells the prophet that he revealed to you that the angels are with you. But then he says right after that, but the only help comes from Allah. And whether the angels are there or they're not there, Allah's going to help you. Allah's going to give you victory. But knowing that you got 1,000 angels around you, you know, makes you feel all right. Yeah. Yeah. Just like Yaqub alayhi salam. When his sons were going into Egypt, what did he tell them to do? Go through different doors so that people don't give you the iron. Don't let people see all 12 of you together or all 11 of you together, 12, going through the door, going through the gates. Because they're going to see all these young men, handsome and stuff, you know, and they're going to envy you. So go through different gates so they don't know you guys are together. What does Allah say? He says himself, and that's not going to help you from Allah's decree. Allah does what he wants to do. He said, and so when they did what their father told them to do, it didn't help them at all. It only fulfilled a desire that Yaqub had. And it just made him a little bit more comfortable. Yeah? Just like you tell your kids. You know, lock your doors, do this, do that. If Allah wants something to happen, it's going to happen. But at least call me when you get home. At least it makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel good, makes me feel okay. But this law is still in control. If he wants something to happen, it's going to happen. If he doesn't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. Fine.